Welcome, I'm Polly Wooldridge with John Stewart Walker, a realtor in the Lynchburg, Virginia area. In the next 30 minutes, you'll join me to see some houses that are currently on the market, and I'll share some tips from my book on all you need to know about real estate. It's for buyers, for sellers, investors, and we'll talk a little bit about how the market is. It's a great time right now to get into the real estate market, whether you're buying or selling, because home sales are up 5% and the pricing is up 6.5% over last year. So it's a great time to sell your house. At the same time, rates are low. If you're a buyer, now's the time before they go up again. So join me in watching these houses that are on the market, getting some tips that might be helpful for you. And if you'd like to, write me for a free copy of my book at pollywooldridge.com. Now check out these homes that are on the market now. Hi, whether you are buying or selling a home, one of the things that is going to come up in the contract is a home inspection, because every buyer should have a home inspection and every seller should be prepared for that. So it's the #1 contingency on the contract. It's usually done within 2 weeks after everyone has negotiated and signed and agreed on that contract. So I'm here with one of my favorite home inspectors, Chuck Haggerty, with JF and Associates Home Inspections. And I thought Chuck could share his insight into why do a home inspection and what he looks for, and maybe some of maybe even an interesting what you found, I don't know, one day.
Oh, I could take up the rest of the afternoon with those interesting stories. But something you said earlier in your session was that sometimes a seller will even have a home inspection. You were telling and encouraging the buyers, or rather the sellers, to go and have their house prepared and have it looking this way and doing that. And every now and then I'll work for a seller who just knows that there isn't a buyer coming off of every tree, and when one comes along, you don't want to lose them. So they'll have me come in, we'll look over the house, we'll evaluate it, try to find those problems, get them fixed before, and that's a big plus. But 98% of the time, 95% of the time, I'm probably working for a buyer. You know, the buyer finds a house, you've taken them around, shown them everything you can see, they've picked a couple out, they narrow it down to one, and then that's the point where they usually go and call me and hire me in when the contract's already been signed and they put a contingency in. We like this house, we want this house contingent based upon a home inspection. And that's whenever they hire me. And a lot of people then ask, how old does a house have to be before you recommend inspecting it? And they think that the older houses are going to be the more problematic ones. And sometimes that's the case. But I'll tell you, in over 20 years of doing this business and almost 7,000 houses, the 2 worst I've ever looked at yet, one was brand new and one was a year old. Wow. So you can get some big structural problems sometimes if you get a builder or a contractor in doing a house. He thinks he knows what he's doing and he doesn't. So these were some big problems I've seen. Now, older houses have a whole different dimension, of course. They have the water damage, they have the time problems, sometimes they have termite or bug problems. So bottom line, you basically want to get them all inspected. You know, you just don't know. Brand new houses, they have to have code inspections, but those are sometimes pretty quick. And we come into a house, a home inspector comes in, he does a non-invasive, comprehensive evaluation of the house. It's top to bottom. He's looking at the roof, he's looking at the outside, the windows, he's up in the attic if he can get in there safely. Each room throughout the house, you just take your time and work your way through it. You're down in the basement. Sometimes you find the big structural things down there. You're looking for the water problems that everybody's always concerned about, stuff like that. And then you're looking at all the systems, heating and cooling, electrical, plumbing. It's a very thorough evaluation of the house. Now, it's a non-invasive evaluation. You can't go cutting holes and disassembling things, obviously, but you do the best you can visually.
And how should they pick their home inspector?
Primarily, when people call on the phone, they'll always say first thing, hey, I need a home inspection. The house is this big. How much do you charge? Because we're all geared for that. You know, we all have to be concerned about our finances, of course. But when people ask primarily the very first question, how much does it cost? That's a good question. But the better question is, how long have you been doing this? How many have you done? How much experience do you have? What's your background? What professional affiliations do you have? Ask about your inspector, because we're just getting to the point in Virginia, you know this, in July 1st, where they're going to require home inspectors to be licensed. But for the past 21 years that I've been doing this, you didn't have to be licensed. And we had people come and go, some of them more qualified than others. So find somebody who's got the experience.
And what I like about Chuck is he doesn't mind the buyer following him around. He's going to educate you on what he's looking at and what he's doing. So is that okay with you?
Oh, that's a good idea. Just yesterday even, 2 houses I did. The one in the morning was a big house, a professional man buying it. He was a medical doctor. He had the time. He tagged along with me for almost 3.5 hours on that house, asking questions. Now, he had experience in houses, so his set of questions were different than my next client, who was a young couple, first house. I always encourage them to come along, because you're going to get some lessons, teach you some things you may not have known, show you what I'm doing. You'll understand the whole process better. You'll understand your house a whole lot better if you can tag along with me.
And tell them how to get in touch with you, Chuck.
jfainspections.com is the best way. jfainspections.com. We've got an auto scheduling feature on the website. You can get on it. You can click on the schedule link. You can see when I'm available, pick a time, give me some information, get a price, and lock it in. jfainspections.com.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate your valuable information.
Thank you, Polly. Always good to see you at houses.
I need to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about investment property. People think that you can make a ton of money owning investment property, and maybe you could, but you could lose a ton of money. Whether you're talking about rental houses or flipping houses, I want to just give you a brief overview. So if you buy a house that you want to rent out, that is a great way to secure income in your future, because the tenant is going to pay that mortgage payment, and he's going to pay the house off for you, right? So that's great. Make sure that you have a realtor who's going to guide you to areas where rentals are strong. Make sure you don't pay too much, considering how much rent you'll be able to get for that house. Again, renters like more than 2 bedrooms. They like central heat and air. You want to look at something that's not going to cost you a lot for maintenance, because that could eat up all your profits each month. So look for something maybe with a heat pump, where you're not spending the money on oil heat, which can, a lot of times the owner of the house pays for the heat, and you can get into a bad situation. So get some good advice. Ask your realtor to help you make a wise decision about buying a rental property. And remember, location, 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 because that depends on the price you should be paying. I have a friend who buys houses for $20,000. He paints them, gets them decent, and he rents them for $450. and then the house becomes worth $40,000. Well, he takes that extra 20 in equity and buys the next one. So there's all kinds of ways you can make this work on your behalf. So again, ask your realtor, and if you can, get into the rental business. But remember, check your tenants. They can beat up a house and they can not pay you rent. So you have to look at the downsides too and weigh that out and see if this is for you or not. The other type of investment property is flipping. That's a term where someone may buy a house at a low price, put some work and money into it, and sell it for a higher price and make money. And that is the idea, is to make money. So you've got to have a good team of people working with you. Good realtor, good lender, good contractor who's not going to charge you too much and not going to take too long, because time is money when you're flipping a house. You need to take 90 days to do it because most lenders for the buyer are going to require that you own that house for 90 days before you sell it. I don't know why, but that's one of their rules. So get some good advice. Look for a great location that you've got to have your realtor do a market analysis. How much is that house today? How much is the work that you're going to put into it? And then how much can you sell it for? Don't get greedy. Don't think you're going to make $100,000 off of every flip that you have. Be conservative, and you make sure that it looks good. I had one realtor tell me, who is an expert at flipping, the kitchen has to be sexy. And I thought, what are you talking about? But it's true. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about. The kitchen has to look great. Stainless appliances, tile floors, nice fresh cabinets, good light. And if the kitchen sells the house, we ladies need a good workspace. So the front of the house has to look great. Everything has to work. Fresh coat of paint, great flooring, tile in the bathrooms, sexy kitchen. And you might be on your way to a successful flip. But ask a realtor, assemble a great team with your lender and your contractor, and maybe that's the business you want to get into. But I'm telling you, you have to have some money to start with, and you have to have some nerves of steel, because it's a tough, stressful thing to go through. And I wish you luck. If you want some advice, please contact me at pollywooldridge.com. I want to talk to you about staging your home, preparing it to sell. Staging is when your agent or a professional staging specialist comes in and they may rearrange the furniture, they may take up your rugs to expose those hardwood floors. It's an important step in selling your home for the most money, because stage homes sell quicker and they sell for more money. So if you're listing your home, listen to this advice from an accredited home staging specialist, okay? Number one, landscape outside. It's got to look fresh and clean. Add some flowers in the front. You might need to paint your front door, and for heaven's sakes, make sure the front lights have working light bulbs, and get rid of those spider webs. It's basic stuff, but if you don't do it, it makes a difference to that buyer. Don't you want to get more money for your house and sell it quicker? Okay, then when you step in the door, make sure it smells fresh. The two best scents are lemon, because it's clean, or vanilla, because it's friendly. Don't overwhelm people with a lot of fake smell, but if it's something light in the background, you've always probably heard of baking cookies before the buyers come look at your house. Not a bad idea. I had a listing out in the country. She would always put bread in the bread making machine, and it smelled like fresh bread in a country setting. It was perfect. So be aware. If you have a dog or a cat, just make sure that buyers don't notice that first when they walk in the door, right? Okay, then have your realtor give you advice about moving furniture, because less is best. A room that is full of furniture is going to look small. And the reason I said you might take up rugs to expose hardwood floors is because it'll make that room look bigger and cleaner. And is it an illusion? I don't know, but it works. So do what works. If you have a dark room, maybe not enough natural light coming into that room, use mirrors to help naturally lighten up that room and make it feel bigger and brighter, because bigger and brighter makes it look cleaner and buyers like it more. Another thing, if you have heavy curtains, remove them. Just leave your blinds on the windows. Curtains are a personal taste that the buyer might not really prefer, and if it darkens that room at all, that's a negative. And neutralize. Don't forget, gray is the new beige. People love gray these days, and it sells houses. So you can say, but my little girl loves her pink room. Fine, but you're selling your house. And money is important. You want to be a good steward of the things you have and make the most out of the sale of your home. And you know, buyers, they used to look for houses they could fix up and get a lot of equity in, but nowadays they want it to look fabulous. They want it to look as new as possible, and so you need to decorate for their taste. So remove the 50 family pictures you have on that wall and fix that wall and give it a fresh coat of paint. You know, your kitchen counters should be cleared off. Again, declutter, less is best. And you know, if you have something in your house that's not working, you need to fix it right away, because that first week on the market is vital. So do all that before you even put your house on the market. And again, ask your realtor, because we know what sells, and we will tell you. It's hard sometimes to say that doll collection that you have in that bedroom is kind of creepy to a lot of buyers. It's hard to tell you that, but it's important. We need to be able to tell you what you need to hear, not really what you want to hear. So pick a realtor that you can get along with, that you trust, and listen to their advice and take it, because it's going to make a difference. You want that buyer to love your house, not your stuff. So be aware of every sense that you have, you know, your sight, your smell, when you're walking into a house. Look at decorating with a focal point. You know, if there's a fireplace in the room, that's your focal point. Maybe you have a beautiful room with muted colors and a pop of red, right, with pillows on the bed or something. So, you know, you can look online, you can get great ideas from magazines, but stage your home for success. It's going to help your buyer fall in love, and it's going to help you get more money and sell faster. And guess what? If you don't do it, you might help the house down the street get sold before yours. Because if theirs is comparable to yours in the same neighborhood, but theirs looks staged and sharp and ready to sell, and yours doesn't, the buyer might just pick theirs over yours. So do the best you can with what you have, get good advice, and stage your home, and help us to help you sell it quickly. If you plan on buying a house, the first thing you're going to need to do is get pre-approved for a loan, because you need to know what you can afford, how much that monthly payment's going to be, and how much money you need up front at closing. So it's also vital to the seller of the home you want to buy. Sellers, make sure that those buyers, when they present an offer to you, have a pre-approval letter attached to that. It shows that they've started that process and that they have the right to make that offer. So I'm here with Joe Yock from J.G. Wentworth. He is one of my very favorite mortgage lenders because we make a good team and it makes the process easier for our buyers and sellers. So Joe, I want you to tell them how important it is to have pre-approval and a little bit about that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on, Polly. It's very important. I mean, buying a home is a major decision, as we all know. You can buy things online. You can look for vacuum cleaners and T-shirts and all that kind of. But then when you start talking about, hey, this potentially could be the biggest financial investment in my life, that can be a little bit scary, right? But it can be extremely positive. As we all know, home ownership is a very positive thing for our communities and for the people within the community. So how do you want to do that? That's the question. And you can go online and you can jump on a rocket and fly on off and see what you get. Or remember, you're not buying a vacuum cleaner, you're buying a home. And you can meet with a local professional that can sit down and talk closing costs, talk interest rate, talk programs that are the best programs for their particular situation. Everybody's situation is a little bit unique, and you have to be able to sit down with that local professional, I believe, with such a big decision on their hands, and be able to make the right decision that is best for them. So getting that pre-qualification like you're talking about, the pre-approval that you're talking about, and having that letter in your hand to go with your realtor, so when you find that dream home that you want to live in, have that in your hand and ready to go, is a big step in the negotiation process. And not only that, but also being comfortable with what you're doing, making sure that you know the facts of what you're doing and how you're going to do it, what your monthly payment is going to be, so on and so forth. So it is extremely important. There's
a lot of trust that you've got to have with your lender because you're giving them your blood just about. Sorry, but and there are a lot of different types of loans. So if you just give them a brief idea of the basic kinds of loans, because not everyone is going to be the right loan for you. So yeah, it's understanding everybody's situation. Everybody. That's the one thing I've been blessed to be able to do this for the past 17 years. And the one thing that I found is everybody's situation is a little bit unique. And so you got to what I always say to my clients is, hey, you know your financial situation better than I do. However, what I can do is gather that information and then use our knowledge, our team's knowledge, to be able to figure out what is best for you in your current situation. So whether that is I'm a first-time home buyer and I'm buying in the county and I want to do a USDA loan to get 100% financing, or I've got a little bit of money to put down and I can do a 3.5% FHA loan, whatever that may be. I got a lot of money. I'm buying my second house. I'm pulling a lot of, I sold that home and I have a lot of equity from that home, and I can put 20% down and do a conventional loan, and I don't have to pay mortgage insurance. VA loans, what are ways that we can avoid mortgage insurance? What are the ways that we may have to pay them? So there's just so many options available to you. You got to figure out what the right one is. Yeah, those VA loans have a lot of great benefits, as they should. Our veterans deserve a little break. But the other thing is, as a realtor, it's so important that that you answer the phone, because if you're dealing with an online lender and they're not answering the phone and responding, that can delay closing, and then you've got movers and utilities and all kinds of complications with that, so we don't want that issue. The other thing that you might mention is the importance of appraisal. When you're negotiating and buying a home, you've got to qualify for that loan, but the house also has to appraise.
That's right, and having your local appraiser do that is that we've done a great job of separating the lender from the appraiser. The appraiser is ordered through a third-party company, and then that appraiser does it specifically on their own, and then they can give that buyer and seller a true value for what their home really is. So that is extremely important.
So what would you tell somebody is the best way to choose which lender they should have? You know, how do they choose you over somebody else, or what are they looking for?
Yeah, I think you know, the main thing is, once again, I stand on this. I think you need to find a local professional that can sit down and talk with you through you may have some credit issues that need to be worked out. That local pro can help you do that. I also like the fact from J.G. Wentworth Home Lending is simply that we originate, we process, we underwrite, and we close our own loans, and we fund all our stuff in-house. So to be able to control the process from start to finish, and we currently service a lot of our own loans. So if you have a servicing issue, you can pick up the phone and you call me directly, not an 800 number. So yeah, it's just finding that right person that can help walk you through every step of the way and can do it in-house, I think is critical.
That's great. That's a good point. Joe actually hand-delivered paperwork for a closing for my husband and I think, gosh, was that 20 years ago, Joe?
We're getting old. We're not that old, Paul.
Oh, okay. Well, it was pretty close, I can tell
15,
you.
I bet.
But yeah, the experience that you have certainly comes into play. And you know, J.G. Wentworth is a company you can trust. So how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is either go to my website, which is joejloans.com, and honestly or the office number, 434-525-0200. So either joejloans.com or call directly into the office, and somebody will be there with a smiling face to pick up the phone and walk you through the whole process.
Okay, I only have one last question. Where are the green pants?
Well, the green pants got retired the other day because the wife said that she referred to them as being a little bit ill-fitting. I know what she's trying to tell me right there. But the new ones have come in, so Green Pants 2.0 are on their way. Stay tuned.
You got to make it a little bit fun. I mean, it's a very stressful process going through the home buying and all that. So Joe makes it a little easier. Thanks, Joe, for being with me today.
Thank you, Polly.
So did you see a house you're interested in? If so, give me a call. And if you'd like to get a copy of my free book, just contact me at pollywooldridge.com. And look out for the car around town. Post it on Where's Wooldridge, wherever you see the car, and there's a drawing every week. I'd love to help you buy, sell, or invest. So give me a call, and I'll see you soon.